Hello YouTube. I've decided to make some citrus kraut because I've got a bunch of vegetables here which are past their best, and while you should probably use like the best, freshest stuff for this, there's no reason why this stuff can't be kind of rehydrated and used up and made into something that is better than the sum of its parts. So I've got a quarter of a white cabbage, and what I've done is I've soaked it overnight so that it's become crisp again. I've got some dill, some lemons, some white onion, some fennel, and a couple of leftover spring onions. And that's basically going to be my kraut. I was going to put garlic in it, but in the end I just didn't bother, which is weird for me because I put garlic in like everything. But anyway, the long and the short of sauerkraut is it is shredded cabbage or whole cabbage or whatever. It's salted cabbage that then kind of the salt draws the liquid out of the cabbage and it creates its own pickling juice. So you can just do straight up sauerkraut. I have done a video on this before, but I'm now starting to get into my fermenting more, so I understand a lot more of how it works, and I kind of want to explore a little bit. So this is very similar to something I've made before, but also slightly different. So what I'm doing first of all is shredding and weighing everything. So I've shredded the cabbage, I've shredded the onion so that it's about the same size. Previously I've put the dill in whole and then fished it out when I'm going to eat it, but I actually want to kind of keep it in the kraut, so I am finely shredding that. I've got the fennel. Now weirdly I'm not a huge fennel fan, but I do really like it pickled or fermented. So I'm not using the entire bulb, I'm going to use half of it, and then the other half I'm going to turn into something else, which you will see on the extended video that is going to be over on Patreon. Also along with all the weights and measurements for this, so you can kind of see exactly what's gone into this and how you can make it yourself. So yeah. That's the spring onion. That's also being finely chopped because I don't know, I don't want like big chunks of that. So I'm quite happy to like finely chop that into its little kind of half circles or circles. What else is in there? I think that was about it. But everything's about the same kind of size. It's all small, just so that it can all be like scrunched up and fit in the jar without having like big chunks of it poking out. And then what I'm going to do is as I do things, I write down the weight so that I can figure out the final weight of everything that's gone into it, and then I can add 2% salt. So the salt part is very important. This is something that I have kind of played with in the past and just used table salt, and it's come out okay, but you want to use sea salt, and you want to use rock sea salt, because that's the stuff that I've found has just been absolutely fantastic, and that's what I'm using here. So I'm using 2% of the final weight in sea salt, and then what you want to do is you want to like rub it in and massage it, and it will then kind of bring out all of its natural juices. And that's what you want to kind of cover it in the end, because that's what stops it going off and turns it into sauerkraut. And it's as simple as that, really. It's really, really straightforward to make this, and I strongly recommend giving it a go, even if it's just with the cabbage. Play around. And then what I'm doing as like a final thing with this is, rather than shredding the lemon or anything like that, I'm just cutting it into slices. So there's going to be a slice on the bottom. There's a couple of slices on the side. I tried to put it in before I started packing it, but it just didn't work. And then I'm going to put a slice on the top. And that gives it the citrus flavour without having to kind of pick big chunks of it out. It really does add a nice flavour to it. It is absolutely fantastic. And the other two secrets I've got for you are, one, I've got a tamper. So this is a tamper that has been used, or it was like on sale for cocktails, when you kind of muddle things and mash things, but it's great for sauerkraut as well, because what it does is it allows you to kind of like mash it into the jar, and you'll see the liquid kind of rising as you do it, and that's how you know you've done a good job of kind of rubbing in all of that salt. And yeah, that's it. Oh no, the other thing, so it's like there's two things, but there's just one I'm going to tell you about. No, the other one is pickle pebbles. So this is a glass weight that I've got that sits on top, and it keeps a pressure on everything so that the liquid can stay above it, because Vegetables are light, they do float, and the problem is if they float, they're then open to the air and then they end up going moldy and going off, and you do not want to eat moldy sauerkraut. That is not going to be good for you. Ultimately, this is a food that is good for you because it's fermented, it's got probiotics and things in it. You do not want a moldy one. That is not good for you. So there you go. It's as simple as that. If you do want to see what I did with the fennel, because I've added a few extra bits and done something else with that, head on over to Patreon and check that out. All the weights and measurements for this particular one will also be on Patreon. And what I'll also be doing, because this is very fresh, so, you know, while it looks one way now, it's going to look a complete different way in like a week's time, 2 weeks time, after I've left it out at room temperature, and also after I've put it in the fridge. So it does change over time. If you want to see how that looks, head on over to Patreon, because I'm going to be adding updates on there, and also ultimately what I end up doing with it to eat it, because yeah, it's all well and good making these fun things, but then what the hell do you do with it once it's ready to eat? Exciting things, I promise you. So yeah, that is how to make sauerkraut. Simple, right? So give it a go. Let me know in the comments if you give it a go and how you find it, or like, do you make sauerkraut already? What do you put in it? Like, are you just a straight up cabbage person, or do you like to mix it up a little bit? Let me know in the comments, and ultimately thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to look at this. I've mentioned it 100 times in this video already, but head on over to Patreon if you want to give us a bit of support. And yeah, we will see you again soon, no doubt, and there will be more videos coming. Thank you for watching. Bye!